Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of Terraform. My name is Tia from DevOps Easy Learning, and today we'll be going through Terraform data source part 2. And I basically did another video for Terraform data source part 1, and I will go ahead and make sure that I put that the video link in the description of this one, so that if you want to go ahead and watch, you can do so. What is Terraform data source? Let's say you have a resource that was already created in AWS, and you want to use that in another Terraform configuration file. How are you going to achieve that? That is where Terraform data source become like really handy, right? Like take for instance, let's say you have a VPC and you kind of want to get the VPC ID and also the VPC ID and also the subnet ID to create maybe an EKS cluster or to create a security group. How are you going to perform that? How are you going to achieve that? Right? You can basically hard code those ID in your code, but that is not the good idea. The good idea here is to use the Terraform data source parameter and get those IDs, pass that in your Terraform code at runtime, right? If you kind of click here on this icon, it's going to take me in my GitHub repository. I'll also make sure that I put a link to this GitHub repository in the description of this video, so that if you want to go ahead and follow exactly what I will be doing here, you are more than welcome to do so. Now, I don't basically like to kind of walk through my code here through GitHub console. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to kind of open this one in VS Code, right? And I've cloned this repository already. It is a public repository. You can go ahead and check it out, clone it, open it. You can fork it. You can do whatever you want to do with. Now, let me go ahead here and move to the code, and this is the root of this repository. If you tab ls, you guys can see here that I have the root of the repository, and I'm going to seed it to this specific path. If you tab ls, I basically have the same configuration file that you guys will see, that you guys kind of saw on GitHub earlier, right? Now, let me go ahead here and type code here to open the VS Code in this particular location. And I'll drag it and kind of drop it here. Here we have a couple of files here. We have a data source here for Amazon Linux AMI, another data source here for Red Hat, another one here for Ubuntu, and another one here for Windows, right? These 4 data source will basically allow us to create Windows VM, Linux Ubuntu VM, Amazon Linux VM, and Red Hat VM, right? As you guys can see here, if you just hook over to main, you guys will see that I basically duplicate the resource, this AWS instance resource, how many times? That means 4 times. The first one will be to create Amazon Linux. The second will be to create Red Hat. The third will be to create Ubuntu. And the last one, we'll just use this one to create a Windows VM. Now, pay close attention here. What do we set here? We have the Terraform block, and here we want to deploy in AWS. Here we have a block of code here to create an Amazon Linux. As we don't kind of want to hard code the AMI, this is where this Amazon Linux data source will kind of help us and grab the AMI ID from any AWS region where we want to deploy. Let's say we want to deploy this one maybe in North Virginia, and we want to deploy in US, maybe East 1. What will happen? This code here will filter and get the latest AMI and go ahead and use it, right? Now, how are we going to pass this one into our Terraform configuration file? We use the data.aws_AMI, which is this one, .amazon Linux. And what are we getting here? We want to get the ID, and it will basically grab the ID. And we are going to type the instance type will be T2 micro. The key we basically have this key already, and what will be the VPC. I've created this key already, and this VPC security group ID exists already in my account. You can basically decide to use Terraform also and create a VPC, right? You can use Terraform to create this VPC, but the purpose of this video is not to kind of go through how to create a VPC security group using Terraform, right? It is just how to use a data source to basically query the AMI that we want. And here, I kind of hard code here the subnet ID, and this is part of my default subnet. And here we have a root device. I basically set this to 10 gig, and the default basically is 8 if you don't put anything. And this tag here, the first Linux, the first VM will be called Amazon Linux. And let us go to Red Hat. Red Hat have the same configuration. I'm not going to mention anything here. The only thing that changed here is what? It's just how we're going to get the AMI ID. And for Red Hat, we have this little configuration here. All these code here are available. All these code are available out there, and also those code are available within the Terraform documentation, and you can just go there and grab all this data source. In here, how are we going to refer this? The same way that we kind of refer for Amazon Linux, we are going to do the same thing here. As you guys can see, data.aws_AMI, and we are using the Red Hat. And what are we getting out of that? We are getting the ID, and other configuration basically remain the same. Same thing applies for Ubuntu here. We have the data source of Ubuntu here. And what are we getting here? We just want also to kind of grab the AMI of Ubuntu, right? I mean, the AMI ID here. And other configuration basically remain the same. The last one here, it is what we call Windows. And let me go ahead and fix this first. When you want to launch a Windows VM, please make sure that the disk size, it is at least 30. 30 here, it is the default disk size. If you put it at 8 or 10 as Linux, it is not going to work. That is the first thing that you should basically check out. If you put this like 8 or 10, you guys will see that it is going to fail when you trigger Terraform, and Terraform will say, hey, this is really, really small, that you should put that at least 30 gig. And if you even try to create that through AWS console, you'll see that the default this size here, it is 30 gig. And here I basically have a data source here that will go ahead and kind of grab the AMI ID for Ubuntu for Windows Server 2019, right? And other configuration basically remain the same. Now, as you guys can see here, what I have done here, it is not basically the proper way, because I am kind of repeating myself here, right? This thing, all this block of code are the same. The only thing that changed is this line of code, and I'm repeating myself. If you really want to know how to handle this code properly, please let me know in the comment below, and I'll go ahead and create another video. And within the video, what are we going to do? We'll basically use something called Terraform condition. That means we'll go ahead here and set some condition and say, hey, if a user basically choose window, please use the same block of code, but launch a window VM. If a user go ahead and choose Ubuntu, please use the same block of code and go ahead and launch Ubuntu VM. If the user choose Red Hat, please go ahead and launch Red Hat. And if the user choose Amazon Linux, go ahead and launch Amazon Linux, which means we'll have just one block of code instead of 4 block of code here, and we'll kind of use condition to handle each case, right? Even with the root device, if the user choose either Ubuntu or Red Hat or Amazon Linux, please set the root device to be 10. And also, if the user choose Windows, please set the root device to be at least 30, which is the default. Please, if you want to know how to handle this one using Terraform condition, please let me know in the comment below, and I will go ahead and take the same example, but create another video with condition, right? And explain how to handle this thing professionally, and also the proper way. Now, let us go ahead and kind of run this code and test it and see if it's going to work. Basically, when we fire up this code, it will go ahead and create 4 EC2 instances. Now, let us check that out. If you open my terminal here and just type Terraform in it, this will go ahead here and kind of download the provider. And wait a little bit. It's taking a little bit. Now, let us go ahead here and tap Terraform plan. And this will basically kind of explain and give us the plan of what it's going to create. It's going to create basically 4 resources, and I know exactly what those resources are. I will go ahead here and type Terraform apply. You can also type Terraform apply half and auto approve so that it will not prompt you to put yes or no. And let us hook over to AWS and we'll see what is going on here. If you go to EC2 instance, let me check EC2 right here. Let's see what is coming up already. So far, we have a lot of VMs coming up. The first one here, it is Red Hat. It is in pending state. Windows here in pending state. Ubuntu in pending state. And Amazon Linux, it is in pending state. Now, if we kind of check also here, you guys can see here that it is still going through and it is launching Windows already. And through the console, if we refresh, we are going to see here that Amazon Linux, it is running already. Ubuntu, it is up and running. And Windows, it is also up and running. And the last one, it is just Red Hat. And everything here, it is up and running. And if we check here, we'll see that it is completed, as you guys can see. And we did not basically hard code any AMI, right? It basically just check this US is one where we are going to deploy here, where we basically fire up all these instances and it basically grab all the AMI IDs based on what? Based on the data source. The data source that will basically set in our TF configuration file, right? I will go ahead and kind of do a cleanup. I'm not going to connect to any of this EC2 instance. I'm not going to connect to Windows, right? Because that's not the purpose of the video. The purpose is just to see how we can go ahead and use the data source. But if you kind of want to know how you can connect into this Windows server or this Ubuntu VM, Red Hat VM, you can let me know in the comment below, and I can just launch another video where I will launch all these 4 operating system, and I'll also show you guys how to connect, right? How to connect, because with Windows, we are going to use something called the RDP protocol to connect, and others will be just using the SSH protocol. Now, let me go ahead here and clean up everything. I'll type Terraform destroy and go ahead here and confirm that I really want to do that. Yes, I really want to do that. And you'll go ahead and clean up, destroy all those resources so that I will not get charged. And that is the end of the video. Please, if you really like the video, let us know in the comment below. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and do so. Also, like and share this video, right? And when you subscribe, what happens is that when we go ahead and publish another content or another video, you will be notified. Thank you.